Hey, Bill O'Reilly here. Welcome to the No Spin News for Wednesday, December 7th, 2022. Stand up for your country. So as expected, Herschel Walker lost. And, that begs the question again, do Georgians really know what they're voting for? Raphael Warnock, by every account, is a progressive leftist bordering on a socialist. He might be one. I think this election is more about Walker up or down rather than, yay, we love Warnock. And, Kemp, the Republican who just got reelected governor there, he won pretty easily. So then, you have to say to yourself, who's a candidate? And I was, let's be honest. I mean, Herschel Walker was not an articulate man. He did not really define the danger of Raphael Warnock. I was on Hannity today. I said, look, Hannity, on his radio program, if you had stayed in Georgia, because Hannity worked in Georgia way back, you could have beaten Warnock because you could have defined what he represents, what he's going to do for 6 years. And maybe the Georgians would have said, we don't want that, rather than we don't want Herschel Walker for a variety of reasons. This is the Talking Points Memo, by the way. I forgot to mention it. I think that Walker logistically lost because a bunch of evangelicals, maybe 5% who always vote conservative, stayed home because Walker's controversies were fairly overwhelming in Georgia. They were. And they were exploited. And I know I'll get letters, well, Warnock did bad things and they weren't exploited. Do not expect the media to be fair. They're never going to be fair, ever again in this country. That's gone. Okay? Any fairness is evaporated. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen on both sides. All right? It's just not. So you have to, the only shot that Herschel Walker had was to explain the danger of Raphael Warnock and then what he would do instead. In fact, he was all over the place. And he lost, and I wasn't surprised. Okay, so one of the things that was suppressed in this campaign, because I love that, that's my new favorite word now, suppressed, by the media, was Warnock's crew, who was in his crew. How about the Black Panthers? Roll it.
Nehemiah X was at the news conference representing the new Black Panther Party. I asked him what made his group mobilize armed men and women at the polls for the U.S. Senate runoff Tuesday. He said the violence black men and women have endured for years.
We also see other things like insurrections in the White House. We also see violent protests and counter-protests. A rise in the Klan, a rise in the Aryan Nation, a rise in war on other continents.
So the Panthers were firmly in Warnock's corner, and I should give everybody pause. Now, there is no truth that we can find that the Black Panthers were out at the polling places in Georgia yesterday. We can find no reports of that. I know that's all over the conservative websites, but again, it's both left and right. You've got to be skeptical about what you see on the internet. So bottom line on this is 51 Democrats in the Senate and 49 Republicans. So what does that mean for you and me? What does that really mean, tangibly? Let's bring in a guy who knows. His name is Steve Scully. You may remember him. He was on C-SPAN for a while and did a presidential debate. He now is in Washington, D.C. as Senior Vice President of Communications at the Bipartisan, which is why we wanted Mr. Scully, Policy Center. So most people, I would submit, in the United States don't really understand the inner workings of the Senate or the House. Would you agree with that?
No, I would agree. First of all, good to be with you, Bill, and you do offer an important voice in the national dialogue, so thank you. But no, and as you have so rightly pointed out over the years, the biggest divide in Washington is not always between Democrats and Republicans. It is between the House and the Senate.
So now the Senate can pass any law it really wants along party lines. They'll always win. But the House just blocks it then because the House is controlled by Republicans, right?
Not necessarily. Look, the toughest job in Washington right now is going to be Kevin McCarthy, assuming he becomes Speaker, because he is going to have a 4-seat majority. He's going to have the right flank, the Freedom Caucus at him every step of the way. Just talked to former House Speaker Paul Ryan yesterday, who said the biggest challenge is going to get things done. They're going to have to get things done. But Kevin McCarthy is going to find a challenge every step of the way. So what this potentially could mean, first of all, in the Senate, it means that a Joe Manchin or Kyrsten Sinema can't hold up the Senate because one senator will not have the power in a 50-50 Senate. But it could also result in the rise of moderates in the House that are going to come together and say, we're going to work with Democrats, because keep in mind, where did the Republicans pick up some of these seats? New York and California. These are moderate seats that they want to keep. And so they're going to have to work across party lines if they want to get some of the things done. A big if. It is a challenge, no doubt about it. The politics is going to be fierce.
You said a 4-seat majority. It's 222 to 213 in the House, right? 222, 213.
Right, but you need 218 for the majority. And
all right.
Yeah.
Now, the way that things work now, thank you, Nancy Pelosi, by the way, if a sitting congressperson goes against the party's wishes, they're likely to be cut off from money. Okay, that's what Pelosi did all day long. That's why she had so much power in lockstep. And, you don't vote for what we want, then you're not going to get any money. And remember that everybody, most people know that Congress people have to run once every 2 years. Now, in the Senate coming up in 24, Democrats are going to have to defend a lot of seats, including Tester in Montana, who will lose if he goes far left and votes for the far left. He'll lose his seat. He knows it. And then, as you mentioned, Manchin and Sinema. So there is some room. But let's assume, and I think this is correct, that if it's a far left or liberal bill, the House will block it. Okay? So nothing gets done. And if the House passes something and Biden doesn't like it, he just vetoes it, and there's no chance of an overturn of a veto. So that's the battle. But there are more subtleties involved, because the Senate alone confirms Supreme Court justices, judges, all of that. And they'll all go, for the next 2 years anyway, the Democrats' way, right?
No, you're right. And look, there is going to be a lot of gridlock. If you look at the Biden agenda, much of what he wanted to accomplish, the Inflation Reduction Act, first and foremost, has been passed. So they're going to try to build off of that. But there's going to be a lot of partisan bickering. There will be a lot that won't get done. There's going to be a lot of posturing by moderates and progressives, although progressives realize that they cannot overreach. That's been one of the biggest mistakes of the Democrats over the years, is they try to read too much into the elections. And certainly you could argue that they might have done that in the last Congress. But the moderates really are going to have a lot of sway in the House. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, but Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, is not a moderate anymore. Tries to paint himself as one, but when a guy gets out there a couple of weeks ago and says, I want to give amnesty to everybody who's in here, and we have an open border policy where millions of people, 5 million at least, have come in under Biden in less than 2 years, and there's Schumer, once a very tough border guy, goes, I want to give amnesty to everybody. So that's radical left right there. And if they try to do that, an immigration reform bill, there's no way that's going to happen. You know that. It's not going to happen.
Look, immigration is the biggest Achilles heel for the Democrats. And conservative media, Fox, continue to hit that hard, rightly so, because it is a big, big issue. But the other thing, and you touched on this, Bill, look, there are 23 Senate Democrats up for re-election in 2024. Yeah. And they want to win. They want John Tester to win. They want Joe Manchin to keep that seat. So they're going to be looking at that calendar and trying to figure out what is going to take away some of the issues that Republicans would use against a Joe Manchin or John Tester to try to build on the majority. They don't want to get in the minority again in 2024. So that has got to be in the back mind of Chuck Schumer. There's no question about that. He may posture one way, but the reality, I think, could be quite different.
Well, he's a pragmatic guy. But believe me, he sold his soul. I mean, he's not the and I know this guy for 40 years. He's sold his soul, as has Biden. I mean, Biden's not going to stand up against the radical left. Now, this is just an opinion question for you, because I value your opinion. You've been around a long time. Do you have any idea why the Republican Party nominates so many bad candidates? I mean, look at the guy in Pennsylvania who ran for governor there. This guy got waxed. I mean, he's saying crazy stuff. Herschel, I like Herschel. Not smart enough by far. Okay, in Arizona, you had a guy that should have won out there with the border chaos and all that. In New Hampshire, Bolduc should have won, but they weren't good candidates. They couldn't persuade the independents. What is wrong with the Republican apparatus?
Well, I think you know the answer to that. I think it's in large part the 45th president. And just go back to 2010. Remember, I am not a witch, Christine O'Donnell in Delaware, another terrible candidate. Look,
Yeah.
I'm from Pennsylvania, and I had made the argument that had Dave McCormick been the nominee and not John Fetterman, it could have been a very different race in Pennsylvania. I am good friends with Tom Ridge, a moderate Republican in a state that would only elect a moderate Republican. So there's a lot of dismay among the Republicans on these candidates who they've nominated. I think it's in large part what we saw with former President Trump. I do think now, and we're seeing this, we're hearing from more and more Republicans saying it is time to turn the page. Republicans clearly want to win, just looking at it tactically. And so in order to do that, it may mean walking away from the candidate Donald Trump, even though his message resonates with a key sector of the Republican electorate.
And he governed well. I mean, if you just look at on policy, you strip all the personality out of it, all the acrimony between him and the press and the opposing party, he governed pretty well. I mean, if you think 2 years ago today, where everybody was, inflation below 2%, everybody working, robust economy, real wages growing, and no trouble with Putin. And I mean, on and on and on and on. But I don't know how the individual states are so influenced by Donald Trump. I mean, yeah, he does rallies and stuff, but it has to be the folks that make the decision. And there are people who don't like Trump who have won, you know, on the Republican side. So I'm not so sure it was just Trump. I think they just folded. They didn't look for, you know, the best, brightest candidates. That's what my analysis is.
Well, but it's also, Bill, who's the base of the party that goes to vote in the primary?
It's
that is
split.
another big issue. And look, let's be honest. In our politics today, if you want to fix our politics, if you want to create the incentive for Democrats to cross the aisle to Republicans and vice versa, you need to make sure that primaries are such a way that you're more worried about the general election than a primary challenge. And that goes to one of the root causes to the progressives on the left and to the conservatives on the right within the Democrats and Republicans.
Okay. Donald Trump has lost some cachet, but it remains very, very powerful within the Republican Party. And I have no idea how this primary is going to play out. But the final question I have for you is, it is assumed that the left, the liberals, the Democratic Party despise Donald Trump. But you're not looking at a Donald Trump today in 2022 who was as strong as he was in 2016. So why wouldn't the Democrats just shut up about Trump, let him run, and they'd have a better chance of winning the presidency in 24?
Well, there are people smarter to assess that. Look, I mean, right now, Donald Trump could very well be the Republican nominee.
Sure.
And let's face it, he's defied odds in the past, and he could be elected with not the popular vote, but certainly the Electoral College vote. But I do think, and you can argue the Liz Cheneys of the world and others, but I do think that there is more fundamental issues. When you have a dinner with somebody who denies the Holocaust, when you have somebody, all of that I think plays into this.
He doesn't live, it's not that he's malevolent, which is what the Trump haters want you to believe. And I know the guy as well as anybody knows the guy. He just lives in his own world.
Right. Look, I've been around him too. He is a very good host. He wants to make everyone feel comfortable. We've been at the White House where he is very gracious. It's a very different tone than you get on his social media platform.
I know, but even when he does like the Kanye West thing, it's not like, oh, I want to have dinner with anti-Semites and talk bad about Jewish people. It's not what's in his mind. He just doesn't see the cause and effect. It's like he was never president. He doesn't see, if I do this, this is what is likely to happen. And so he's always playing defense. And he likes to play defense, but it's not good for his party and the country, in my opinion. Hey, Steve, have a very nice holiday season. Thanks for helping us out. We really appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
It's good to see you again. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.
The war in Europe is the kind of chaos where foreign identity thieves love to target American homeowners. The crime is home title theft. It is exploding in the USA, and no, you are not covered by homeowners insurance or common ID theft services. The problem is the title to all of our homes kept online. An identity thief knows his big payday is as easy as forging your signature stating you sold your home to him. Now he'll take out a loan and another loan against your home, and you won't even know it until the collection calls start or you get an eviction notice. So how do you protect your home from title theft? Register your address at HomeTitleLock.com to see if you are a victim already. Go to HomeTitleLock.com, HomeTitleLock.com. Trump Organization, New York City, found guilty by a jury, 17 counts of tax fraud. The guy who's going to get it is Weisselberg. He was the CEO, not CEO, COO, Chief Financial Officer, CFO, Alan Weisselberg, okay? So they got him for paying for personal stuff by using Trump funds. Free rent on an Upper West Side apartment, luxury cars, tuition payments for his grandchildren. He was using that corporation because he had access to the funds as chief financial officer, and he was paying his personal expenses and not telling the IRS. Can't do that. Now, Weisselberg was, the press, hysterical. Well, he's going to testify on Trump. Trump knew. No. Okay, so Trump not involved, even though it's his company, nor are his children who were involved in running the company. That tells you a lot. They desperately wanted the local New York DA, wanted to get them all. They could. Now, I don't know what happened, but I know that if I'm on a jury and a guy like Weisselberg is running up millions of dollars of personal expenses on a company tab and not putting it on the IRS sheet, guilty. Trump didn't like it, of course. Okay, here's an interesting story. State legislatures rank from most to least conservative. All right, let's go to the most conservative state legislatures. Here they are: Alabama, Tennessee, Indiana, South Dakota, Arkansas, Florida, Idaho, Wyoming, Iowa, West Virginia. They're the most conservative. Least conservative, pop them on up. Massachusetts, okay. Hawaii, yes, crazy left there. Rhode Island, you know, there's an independent streak in Rhode Island, but they are very liberal. California, yes, everyone knows. Maryland, same thing. Vermont, same thing. New York, same thing. Jersey didn't used to be, but that's really turned hard left. Connecticut and Oregon rounds off the least conservative state legislatures. So remember, that's not the population, but that's who the population voted for. Thought you'd find that interesting. I did. So did you ever hear of Pointer, the Pointer Institute? Maybe rattling around someplace. I've used them, data from them a few times. It is a nonprofit journalism school based in Tampa, okay? Now, it has research organizations that do fact checking, all right? And it says that it is a de facto ministry of truth. So this is Pointer. Now, they put out data, studies like Pew, like Gallup, you know, we use them all the time. So Pointer, this is, and I didn't know this is hysterical. Where are the truth tellers? Pointer, Florida. Yes, sir. Well, guess who gave Pointer about $500,000? I know some of you said it. George Soros. George Soros, $500,000. There he is, 92 years old, tentacles everywhere. Everywhere. Boy, they're going to make some movie about that guy when he dies, huh? They got to wait because they don't want to get sued, but whoa. So Pointer, I'm disappointed in you. You know, don't give me your fact-checking, honest outfit when you're taking $500,000 from a progressive zealot who wants to destroy the fabric of the United States. Don't give me that, okay? Jeez. Inflation at its highest level in 40 years. Interest rates skyrocketing. We all know that. Market experts like Jamie Dimon, CEO of JP Morgan, not only predict a recession, but are using scary terms like economic hurricane and unprecedented. So, you need to call the only precious metal dealer I trust, American Hartford Gold. They will show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. Please call them today, and they will have physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA or 401k. They have thousands of satisfied customers. They're the highest rated firm in the country with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. Tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they'll give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. Please call 866-501-5201, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Again, 866-501-5201, or text BILL to 65532. Let's go to the mail. Rick in Texas. Bill, I've asked many times, how is it that a president could break the law with impunity? Biden and his administration appear to have broken more laws than any other president in history. Please answer the question. Rick, I'll answer the question. You can say Biden's broke the law, but not enforcing the law is not the same as breaking it in legal terms. In criminal justice, it's not the same. Now, if there's evidence that Joe Biden broke the law, like taking money from his son Hunter, it's going to be over for him. But we got to see it. Kevin, I spent 2 years watching our country fall apart, waiting, hoping, praying for the so-called red wave to turn things around. I can't tell you how deflated I felt after the midterms. Majority of voters in this country simply don't care about the things I care about. You know, I know a lot of people are feeling that way, but history goes in cycles. I think independent voters can be persuaded. You're never going to persuade the far left progressive nuts. Never. But the independents, you can persuade them. In my opinion, I could be wrong. Paul, concierge member. Paul gets direct access to me. Concierge membership, fabulous. Christmas gift, fabulous. Let's go to BillO'Reilly.com. Good portion of Americans do not want to work and do not want to improve their quality of life. I agree with you. Okay? They're quite content with government handouts, and they will continue to vote for the Democrats despite the misery the Democrats inflict on them. Yes, it's simplistic, but it's true. People, I don't want to compete. Oh, come here. Give me everything. Larry Field, Heron, Illinois. The debt at this stage makes no difference. Whether it's 31 trillion or 61 trillion will never be repaid. Yes, it will never be repaid, but you can pay it down. And that strengthens your economy when you have less debt. Okay? If you keep running it up, sooner or later, you're going to go over the cliff and the dollar's not going to be worth anything. Look, foreign investment props up this country. People buy, all over the world, buy our currency, the dollar, our bonds, our stocks. People all over the world are buying it. This is what makes us so powerful. They lose confidence in the American economic system. You keep running up that debt, they're going to go elsewhere. Philip Sweeney, Dunedin, Florida. I find it disgusting that only the rich and well-to-do can attend these White House Christmas events. Got a point. I think there should be teachers and cops and firefighters invited. I think that would be the right thing. Donna Jason, Port Washington, New York. You're 100% correct, Bill, about what you told your son about the advantage of not using drugs. So many young people are throwing away their futures for a few hours of so-called bliss. Look, you get involved with those drugs at a young age, very, very hard to come back and compete in this society. That's the truth. Blake Hendrickson, Franklin, Tennessee. What was the name of the World War II book you mentioned last night? Hill was in the title. Now, Blake, I usually don't do this, but because I like you, I'm going to do it. All right? If all you have to do if you're a premium member or concierge member at BillO'Reilly.com is just go re-rack it. So the book is The Last Hill. It's about the European theater, and it's a good book. If you like World War II history, and of course I do. All right, let's go to the BillO'Reilly.com store. Now, Holly, the terror dog, is miffed right now that her snacks have been cut down because we haven't sold that many holly pictures. So throw one up so people can, oh, come on. So I think it's because so many were purchased last Christmas season. But now we're going to push the hollies because Holly wants more treats. And there it is. So we have that for the store. I have signed books. The 15th of December cutoff for signed books. And I do this every year. And it's not like, Bob Dylan, he said he was selling signed books, but he didn't sign them. I sign them. It's not pleasant to sign 20,000 books, but I do. All right, we have those. And we got new stock coming in, no spin mugs. And they were classics. So we didn't have them for a while. We're going to bring those back. And then we have the Stand Up For Your Country mugs, which are big sellers. And we're almost out of the white Christmas ornaments. So throw those up. We have 3. I'd buy all 3 because they just look great. Red, white, and blue, of course. But the whites are almost gone. And the others 2 will be gone soon. So please go to the BillO'Reilly.com store, and I will tell you a little bit more about the inner workings of that in the final thought. And word of the day is to not be a knave, Knave. Right back. If you are stuck in a timeshare and you haven't called Lone Star Transfer yet, what are you waiting for? Lone Star Transfer has helped more than 16,000 happy customers. They are family-owned, have a 99% success rate. Their process is done legally, ethically, and quickly. I mean, does it get better than that? The team at Lone Star Transfer will keep you informed every step of the way until you are legally and permanently released from your timeshare. So don't pay another penny for a timeshare you don't use. Get peace of mind today with Lone Star Transfer. They guarantee the release of all liability to your timeshare in writing and in a specific time frame. Give Lone Star Transfer a call for a free no-obligation consultation. 855-551-7066, 855-551-7066, or online at lonestartransfer.com. All right, here is the final thought of the day. Number 1, I'm working late tonight. I'm going to be on News Nation with Cuomo again, usually Wednesday now, and we'll kick around whatever he wants to kick around. And I do this because I want to get our message out to people who would not ordinarily hear us. It makes sense, right? The second final thought is that I told you earlier this week that if you buy stuff in the BillO'Reilly.com Christmas/holiday store, a portion of that goes to charity. And I don't just send money out. So I got a priest friend in Honduras, and obviously is poor, and this guy's a saint. I'm just hoping that he gets there and explains me to the deity. So he always putting the arm on me for money, always, because he's in the poorest region in the hemisphere. But I said to him, listen, Father, you got to tell me exactly where this money's going. All right, because I'm giving you lots of money. And it's coming from my viewers and listeners who buy stuff in the store, and I got to be fair to everybody here. He understood. He did provide. And I said, you're responsible. I'm sending you the money. Don't give it to Jose or anybody else. It's you got to watch it. And I always come back to Haiti. Americans have donated hundreds of billions of dollars to that country over the years. And none of it literally has gotten to the people. So I hope you go to the BillO'Reilly.com Christmas store and help people. That's what we do here. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry I won't be here tomorrow. We'll see you on Monday.